Hey guys, welcome to Oxman Garage. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to build a Coyote Mutt Motor. Welcome to the channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. In this video, I'm going to be making a Coyote Mutt Motor. That's going to be using Gen 1, Gen 2, and Gen 3 parts, all together making one long block. So let's get started. Okay, so this isn't going to be a instructional how to assemble long block video. I'm simply just showing you the parts that I'm using for my combination for this Coyote Mutt motor. And to start with the foundation right here, this is a Gen 3 short block. I'll put the part number on the bottom of the screen. This is a brand new Gen 3 short block from Ford. You can purchase online and have it delivered to your local dealership. So I'm using this as my foundation. This is a stock short block. There's nothing forged. It's not sleeved. No ARP hardware. It's just your stock Gen 3 short block. So with this combination, I'm going to be using Gen 2 heads, and these heads are CNC ported, and these are going to be the heads that I'm going to be using on the short block. So the rule of thumb to interchange generation heads on any of the short blocks is to use the same head gaskets with the heads that you're going to use. So for example, these are Gen 2 Coyote heads. You want to use Gen 2 head gaskets with the block that you're putting them on. So Gen 2 heads, Gen 2 gaskets on this short block. So if you're going to be using Gen 1 heads, you would want to use Gen 1 head gaskets, and obviously the same for Gen 3. So I'm also using a Gen 2 Mustang timing cover. I got some Predator valve covers, and then I'm going to be using Gen 1 timing components. So I have a Coyote Swap Thunderbird, and I'm using a Gen 1 computer, so I'm using Gen 1 timing components. Depending on your combination, you want to be using the correct head bolts or studs. If you're using a 11 to 12 Coyote Gen 1 block, you're going to be using the 12 millimeter head bolts or studs, and the 13 to 17 blocks, you're going to be going to the 11 millimeter. And then for the 18 and up, they went back to the 12 millimeter head bolts or ARP studs. So make sure you have the correct head bolts or studs. So if you're using the Gen 3, you want to use the 12 millimeter head bolts or studs. And I'm using the ARP head studs for the 18 and up blocks, and I'll put the part number right there so you can reference it. Alright, so this is the top end. These are the Gen 2 heads that I'm using. These are CNC ported by Livernois Motorsports, and this is their CNC port only. I also polished all of the ports and the combustion chamber side. I just need to, clean them up a little bit more. I still got a little bit of grime that's on the intake port pad there. I'm going to be using the Fiera intake and exhaust valves, and I'll put a part number there so you can reference it for the exhaust and intake. These are a little bit stronger than the stock valves, and they flow a lot better, and this is going to be great for forced induction. So I'm going to be supercharging this motor, so anything that helps flow with CNC ported head will be great. As far as the valve springs, I'm just using the stock Gen 2 valve springs. The cams that I'm using only has 13 mil of lift on both the exhaust and intake, so don't need to get like a cam spring or anything like that to help out with the spring lift. So this is the top end, Gen 2 heads, some valves, and just the stock Gen 2 springs. Alright, so this is my Gen 1 timing components. Over here to the left, I have MMR Gen X billet aluminum timing chain guides. And did I really need to buy these? Probably not. It was an impulse buy. I got them on Black Friday, 10% off, and I think they look really cool, even though I'll never see them. But next I have the MMR secondary tensioner guide, and this helps prevent chain failure. Just frees up that slack, and then it's going to reverse the tensioner, so it's going to help prevent chain failure. Next I have these Gen 1 phasers with MMR billet aluminum face plates, this red right here, and that's going to free up the rotational weight. So I think that freed up about 1 pound and 4 ounces. It's just going to free up that rotational mass and just help the motor spin a little bit better. Next I have these Gen 1 Coyote camshafts, but these aren't just stock camshafts. These are the Boss 302R camshafts. These are the same ones that are used in the Gen 1 Cobra Jet motor. These have a little bit more duration on the exhaust. It has 13 millimeter of lift, so it's similar to the Gen 2 Mustang camshafts, but there's a little bit more duration. So, and then lastly, I got the Ford Performance solenoids, and these are just, I guess these are a little bit stronger than the stock ones. Like where these tabs here, it's just a little bit thicker gauge metal right there. So this is the Gen 1 timing components going on the motor. Alright, so these are the parts that are going to be sealing everything up. And over here I have a oil pan gasket. I have Gen 2 head gaskets. We have the Gen 2 Mustang timing cover and the gaskets that seal it up. I'm using the MMR rear plate to seal the back of the crankshaft seal. And then here we have the Predator valve covers with the hardware and gaskets. And then this is a Voodoo and Predator coil on plug cover. So that is everything we're using to seal up the motor. Alright, and lastly I have some oil pump gears from MMR. This is for the Gen 1 Coyote oil pump. That's going to help prevent failure at higher RPM. And then I have their crank sprocket. That's for the Gen 1 as well. And then lastly, I have some chain tensioner spacers. And lastly, what's under the blanket? Well, you guys know I'm going to be supercharging, but if you want to find out, you got to subscribe to the channel, because we'll have an updated video of what's going to go on top of this Coyote Mutt motor. See what kind of power and numbers we're going to be making, so stay tuned for that. Alright guys, this is going to wrap up this video. This is just a quick video to kind of show the parts that I'm using to make a Coyote Mutt motor. Using Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3 parts. It's all wrapped up into one long block. So kind of a part 1 of the video. Part 2, I'm going to do an assembly of a long block using all the parts that I showed you in this video. So if you like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give this video a big thumbs up. I'm Josh with Oxman Garage.